It's Thursday, March 6th. This is an end of the day SPY recap, and today on the daily chart we end up with a 2-down red day. We held below the midpoint of the prior day, took out the low of the prior day, and we closed a little bit red. And we came up and closed right near, the low end of the range of the last 2 days. And it almost sets up an interesting inside bar breakout failure where we try to break out lower, and if tomorrow we hold above the midpoint of this bar and have a 2-up day, that would be a failure that you'd expect to come up to the top of that range. However, that is kind of up against a weekly chart that now, with 1 day to go in the week, looks to be closing strongly red almost no matter what happens tomorrow, and that would lead you to expectations that you at least test lower going into next week. So at the moment, there could be a surprise tomorrow that really brings price strongly up, but you're not kind of expecting that. You almost look at this as a move down that didn't follow through, but there's enough weakness in play that we might end the week, red, even on a daily move tomorrow, and that would mean that this breakout here, or this move to higher highs and lower lows at this key inflection point is not a reversal area, and we're moving down to at least our next targets down here to start. So, that's what seems to be unfolding to me. We're having a hard time reversing in this area, but at least today, if something happens tomorrow where we start, above the midpoint of the prior day and head strongly up, or if we take out this low again and then immediately reverse early in the day, something like that, then we could get still a reversal out of here, but time's sort of running out in the week for that. That's the way I'm seeing it. In terms of this price action, it looks pretty innocent here, in terms of what developed, but it really wasn't as easy as that on the chart. You knew coming into the day you were in a 2-day range. If you look back, these are 2 days of, choppy action, and price actually opened up down. So after that big green day, yesterday up to the top of the range, if you look at the daily chart up here, price gapped all the way down to the bottom of the range. And, that's not a great sign for, strong follow through to the upside overall. And that's why, what happened also was that first bar then moved red, but then it didn't follow through on bar 2, and it broke out on bar 3. So that's where I said, all right, we're at the bottom of a range. Price action, at least at the moment, is moving up. So I'm going to buy calls here and just see what happens. But I was very suspect of the move, and I shot some videos of that saying, number one, we gapped too far down to really have a strong move up, although anything's possible. And what really bothered me is that from a failure standpoint, when we gapped down, we didn't take out these lows to fail, take those out, fail, and then start up higher. If that would have happened, I would have considered that this move could be a big failure, and then we go a lot higher, but we didn't really take that out. If anything, we set up a whole scenario of triple bottoms here for liquidity that could be taken out if this move failed, and that's kind of exactly what happened. So anyway, I bought the calls here. I shot how I scaled out very quickly because I just want to be real conservative, and I discussed here this was likely the target, the top of this little pre-market gap, and this is an inflection point. We hit that target, and what happens, we didn't have an orderly pause and continuation to the top of the range. We paused and then started really building momentum to the downside, and I discussed if that would unfold, I would be very comfortable buying puts, to take out these lows down here, and that's kind of what happened. You had 1 push down, pause, 2 push down, so any put buying in here would have worked out well. I happened to buy puts on Tesla instead, so I was taking advantage of that concept with a weak stock, and buying puts here, moved a lot lower, somewhere around 270, got all the way down close to 260, almost 10 points lower. So there were many ways to play the downside here. Obviously, after making kind of 2 pushes down, we pause, and try to hold a little bit. So if I look at the daily chart, we're kind of holding at the bottom of that range technically, but it's still a red bar, and we're coming to the end of the week. So you almost expect, if we can't get any push up in the morning or something like that, we're going lower to end the week, and then we're going to have a red, close to this week, and, not reversing at this area at the moment. And that could lead you to the next target down here. That would be the expectation. What's interesting, though, is if we are going to still reverse in this area, it is possible that we close kind of with a red week here, and then next week we kind of get a little push down that immediately fails and comes back through its open, and it maybe sets up like a little green, reversal reversal bar that by the end of the month we can get a 2-up week going, and you could still get a whole reversal in this area, but the way it looks now, it's almost like it's going to have to test lower first, have maybe a small little weekly bar here that then eventually gets a 2-up. So it might take, either a strong reversal into next week, or it might take 2 more weeks before we really see a reversal develop on this chart. But if not, then we're heading to this target, and then there are other targets below. And like I said, it's just something where you got to continue. It's not not shocking that we're in a downtrend. We've been down 9 out of the last 11 days here. So clearly, that's the momentum at the moment, and you're just waiting for a reversal. And with this much momentum, I just want to see the reversal on the weekly chart, knowing this is an area it can happen, but we're not getting signs of that yet. So I guess technically tomorrow, if we get a 2-up bar here, above the high of yesterday, then that's an inside bar failure that could lead to maybe a big reversal to end the week. We kind of had that at the end of last week here, a green bar. It didn't necessarily reverse anything, it just moved up strongly. This, if it moves up strongly, would be an interesting reversal of this inside bar, and who knows, maybe that leads to a little hammer bar here, or a little buying tail down here that maybe holds into next week and heads higher. But I'm not expecting that. It doesn't seem like that's what's really unfolding. It almost seems like we want to head lower. So let's go with that. And again, you always lose. I'm always using opening price action. And to me, since you're in an obvious downtrend with the big weekly chart down and the daily chart down and everything else, a market typically, the way I view intraday structure, only does one or two things. Either you get the kind of directional move out of the gates, one way or the other. So we could have went a lot lower, but we didn't, to start the session, and that could be a directional day. And if you're not getting a directional day in line with the continuity down, then a lot of times you have to take out liquidity first before you go down. So it's one of the two things I'm always looking for, and it usually happens right after the open, one way or the other. Either you get that directional movement, and if it's in line with the big picture, in this case downtrend, then you can go with that. And if you don't get the immediate move lower directionally and you're still in a downtrend in the big picture, then you look for liquidity to be taken out and a possible failure, and that's what happened in this case. So it's always one of those two things I'm always looking for in terms of how intraday structure aligns with the big picture. So anyway, we have a 2-down day. We're ending the week. It looks like strongly red, but let's see what happens tomorrow and Friday. Who knows? And at this point, I would still be biased to the downside, and we'll just see what tomorrow brings to end the week.